Good morning.
Thank you all for joining us today. I think it's still early enough to say Happy New Year. My name is Katie Savage, and I am the Secretary of Information Technology for the state of Maryland. I am thrilled to announce 4 major digital transformation initiatives today. These initiatives include an artificial intelligence executive order, the creation of the state's first ever digital service team, the state's first ever digital accessibility policy, and a cybersecurity partnership with the Maryland National Guard. The goal of these initiatives is to make Maryland more competitive through modernization while ensuring our technology is secure and accessible so we leave no one behind. I am passionate about this work and honored to work for a governor who prioritizes the secure, accessible, and responsible digital experience of our constituents. I'll provide a brief overview of each initiative, and then Governor Moore will discuss why each initiative matters. First, we are announcing an executive order on artificial intelligence. Maryland state government is at the starting line of its AI journey, and we must ensure that our approach to this set of technologies is responsible and productive and cohesive across all our agencies. The EO establishes a set of principles and values we will adhere to, along with a governing body and an accountability plan. The EO commits the state to studying the intersection between AI and critical domains like cybersecurity and workforce development, and identifying use cases and potential pilots so that we can learn and iterate. I would like to thank my colleagues at the Department of Budget and Management, the Department of Labor, and the Department of General Services for their assistance and input in crafting this executive order. We look forward to working with all of our agencies to ensure responsible and productive use of AI in Maryland. The EO is just the first step in what will undoubtedly be a longer journey for the Moore-Miller administration in close partnership with the General Assembly to govern and leverage AI. We are also announcing the creation of the Maryland Digital Service. MDDS will partner with agencies to create consistent and intuitive digital experiences that are user-centered and accessible to all Marylanders across hundreds of websites and applications, and build digital products in modern, agile, and cost-effective ways. We are also proud to announce the state's first ever digital accessibility policy. The Maryland Digital Accessibility Policy will ensure that all Marylanders have equal access to digital services and content regardless of their abilities. Technology can only be productive if it is accessible to all. This policy, developed in partnership with the Maryland Department of Disabilities and the Department of General Services, is applicable to all Maryland executive branch agencies, departments, and their affiliated IT vendors. Under this policy, departments and agencies must ensure that their information technology and services are accessible to all Marylanders. The simultaneous creation of the Maryland Digital Service and the accessibility policy were intentional so that the MDDS can be a resource to implementing these new accessibility standards. Finally, furthering our status as the cyber capital of the world, we are announcing the Maryland Cybersecurity Task Force. The Maryland Cybersecurity Task Force is a partnership between the Maryland Department of Information Technology, the Maryland Department of Emergency Management, and the Maryland Military Department to bring critical cybersecurity talent to the state. The Maryland National Guard has the only cyberspace operations group in the U.S. Air Force because of our proximity to the National Security Agency. The state will be tapping into this unit to add personnel focused on system monitoring, incident response, and vulnerability remediation efforts. The goal is to foster a whole-of-government approach to further enhance the state's cybersecurity capabilities and better support local governments in need of cybersecurity maturity. These 4 initiatives reinforce each other, bringing together a combination of new talent and new policy. I want to thank my team, particularly Nishant Shah, our Senior Advisor for Responsible AI, Marcy Jacobs, Chief Digital Experience Officer, Andrew Drummond, Director of Accessibility, and Greg Rogers, the State Chief Information Security Officer, for their hard work in spearheading these initiatives. I'd also like to thank my Deputy Melissa Lehman and Chief of Staff Patrick Mulford. I am now honored to introduce to you the Governor of Maryland, Wes Moore, for a few remarks.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Good morning. I want to first start off by thanking Secretary Savage for all of your leadership. You know, we said early that Maryland is going to lead. But in order to get this done, we needed to have the right architects and the right leader to help to get us there. And Secretary Savage, you have been that and more. So thank you so much and congratulations. I want to also say that this has truly been a team effort. It's something that this is what it looks like when you can have an executive branch working together with a legislative branch to be able to make really important and big things happen. And I want to give a special shout out to Sue who's joining us today, Senator Hester. Thank you so much for your leadership. For Delegate Lewis, who I say over there, thank you so much for all of your work and your leadership. For Delegate Kaiser, Delegate Kaiser, great to see you, and Delegate Hill sitting right next to you. Thank you so much. Also, I know Chair Pena-Melnick could not be here, but has also been very involved. The beauty of today is the fact that this is a team effort, and we got here because of the continued push, leadership, and guidance you all given. So thank you so much, and congratulations to you all. And also want to thank this remarkable team that we have here, who are standing here to my right. General Burkhead, Secretary Beatty, Secretary Strickland, Secretary Chaudhry, and Secretary Wu. We do this work as a team. We move in partnership. And I think the importance of this remarkable assemblage here is that this, and Secretary Lee, is that this is no different. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Because today's announcement is about much more than just an executive order. In my first State of the State address, I said that we would rebuild state government. In our first year, we learned that it isn't enough to rebuild state government. We actually need to modernize state government too. Because there is a harsh truth. The world is moving fast. And if we don't keep up, we're going to fall behind. I mean, I think about it this way. My iPhone asks me to update it like every 8 weeks. But we have not updated the way that government works in the past 8 years. How can we win the next decade if the tools that we have to win the decade are the tools from last decade? How can we rise above our competitors if we operate below what's actually expected to get the work done? We cannot afford to be stuck with a system that is 10 years out of date. Our constituents deserve better. Our constituents deserve a government that has the tools to be able to lead with efficacy. So today, the state of Maryland is getting a software update. The steps that Secretary Savage just announced will ensure that we integrate AI into the work of state government in a responsible and an ethical way. Together, we are going to improve the experience that Marylanders have on their state websites. We will make it easier for all Marylanders to be able to access state resources. Together, we are going to ensure that all state services are accessible to the public, including individuals with disabilities. Together, we are going to bolster our cybersecurity assets across the public sector so we can remain safe from cyber attacks. These announcements mark the beginning of our work, not the end. And we look forward to partnering with the General Assembly to move forward on legislation centered on AI. But before I close, I do want to address the elephant in the room for so many Marylanders. Because it is not lost to me that for many people in our state, the words AI and cyber can make some people scared. Here's the thing. This technology is already here. The only question is whether we are going to be reactive or proactive in this moment. Our administration will always choose to lead. we will never choose to follow. We will never choose to be flat-footed. We will always choose to lead. And that means taking these initiatives that we've announced today and moving swiftly and moving seriously. Being proactive means working with our partners in labor to better understand how this new technology will affect our workers. Being proactive means working with our partners in the private sector to better understand how this new technology will affect our economy. Being proactive means working with every single person in this room and every single person in our state to ensure that technology generates new opportunities. We will not wait for technology to evolve only to find ourselves flat-footed against the challenges of tomorrow. We will take action, and we will take action together. And that's what we're doing today. That's what we'll continue to do in the weeks and the months and the years ahead. By modernizing state government, we will better meet our constituents' needs. We will better address our community challenges. We will better assert Maryland's leadership in this decade. I could not be more proud of this team, and I couldn't be more proud of this work. I know this is just the beginning of our efforts to build a better government that meets the moment and meets Marylanders where they are. And we're excited that we can actually get this work done together. So thank you so much, and with that, we'll take a few questions from the meeting.
Governor, can you talk a little bit about the cost? Technology upgrades are typically not cheap, and the state's infrastructure is not exactly up to date. So what is it going to cost to bring the system up to date so that you can integrate AI?
Absolutely. So one thing, and I'll ask Secretary Savage to join as well, one of the things we've been incorporating and thinking about this build-out is actually there is a core infrastructure that's already set in place about capital and assets that we will use towards this build-out. And the Secretary has been diligent about ensuring that that can happen within that framework. But I'll let Secretary.
Sure, so we already have budget in place for major IT development projects across the state. What we have with the addition of the Maryland Digital Service is now the right talent to guide those initiatives. What we're missing in the state right now are user experience designers, product managers, data scientists, engineers. And so what we're doing is bringing talent to better support the budget we already have.
Secretary, can you talk about the accessibility aspect? What that looks like in reality, and give an example of how that might, where you're looking to make improvements. Obviously, some services are already accessible to certain different communities, but how do you see that actually expanding?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So tactically what this does is it creates a accessibility liaison at all of the different all these different executive agencies. So what we'll be doing as we, again, in partnership with the Maryland Digital Service, which is why all these things come together, making sure that as we upgrade websites and experiences, that we're leveraging the accessibility coordinator from each agency to ensure that we have non-visual compliance, for example, that we're working on translation services. So we'll be choosing a couple of departments and websites to get started and then hoping to proliferate out. But again, that's why the digital service talent really matters.
Secretary Savage, do you have a sense yet of how many contract employees will be used to do this work versus state employees?
It's a great question. We're hoping to hire as many direct employees as possible. Myself and Marcy Jacobs, who is our Chief Digital Experience Officer, she and I come from the United States Digital Service, and we saw firsthand how important, what a big difference it makes when you are state employees, or in that case, federal employees. So we'll be looking to do as many in-house as possible.
What kind of legislation will be necessary in this section to achieve this?
So the executive order for AI really is the big piece of it. Everything else we can accomplish through agency policy.
Data flows both ways. What's going to be put in place to limit the data that the state collects on users, and what's the state going to do to protect the data that it does collect?
It's a great question, and that's where having the cybersecurity team really matters. We already have an incredible chief privacy officer and a chief data officer for the state. So we'll be working closely with those offices to make sure that we're really conscientious about what software products we're doing, where the data is being stored. We also have to be more thoughtful about terms and conditions with third parties. So that's something that we'll be looking to shore up.
Will the state be disclosing to end users before they start to use something on the website about exactly what is being collected, what is being kept, and what is being protected?
I think that's part of what we need to do. We need to think about how, there's sort of disclaimer, like, if you look at federal websites, for example, it says, this is how you know this is a trusted and verified website and what that banner is. And so that's something we'd like to do as well.
Is legislation needed to protect the privacy of citizens' data?
It's a good question. I think that with the right software policy and the right authorities to operate, we want to make sure that we're doing that in-house as best as possible, but it's certainly something in partnership with the General Assembly that if we need to further shore up, I know we have trusted partners we can work with on that.
All right, thank you, everyone. We're going to go to the side of the ear.
It's done.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.